What's up, CHFFL, and welcome to week 14 of the 2022 season. This is the calm before the storm. I don't have a lot prepared for today. All of our playoff spots have been locked up at this point in both conferences. West blew his chance to play spoiler last week and knock Bannis out. So your MAGA gang is going to be Mark with a first round bye, and Bill and I playing in the first round. And then the Smut Hut Conference, barring a 1 in a million miracle, is going to be Grant with the first round bye, and then Swan and Bannis playing in the first round. Going in, trade deadline is passed, so not much to talk about there. Waiver report this week: Swan with Lamar Jackson having an injury spends $22 on Jared Goff. A significant portion of the FAAB that he has left, but that's good use of it to get somebody that you think can stream or fill in or keep you afloat and give you a chance in the playoffs. Bill, a couple of maintenance pickups: Patriots defense 15 and Evan Ingram 5. The Patriots D has been very good this season, but their playoff schedule is brutal. Still, with teams such as mine hoarding defenses for the playoffs, may still be a good start for Bill. We'll see what he decides to do going forward. That's really it as far as news. Predictions last week, I went 4-2, bringing me to 53 and 25 on the season. I hit on everyone in the MAGA gang. Myself beating Stanley, Bill over Mini hit, Mark over Max hit, and then I missed the two, and some of this is being live and wanting to make stories, but I picked Wes to beat Parker and Marty to beat Bannis so that we could have some drama, and that did not happen. Bannis was your team of the week. Actually, he and Grant both scoring over 190 points. Grant feeling so sure about his team, but Bannis outscored him, and it could happen again. Wes blew it, just under 100 points, taking upset to the worst team in the league. What a shame. But should have a good spot in the losers bracket to set himself up for next year. And as I said previously, playoffs are all locked up. So we're going to move over right away to our browser view and start doing predictions for this week. I'm a little unprepared. I will monologue a bit while I get these browsers up. My parents, it's so lovely. We're here for Thanksgiving and just decided that they're also going to be here today. I mean, it's so nice to see them so frequently. Where's Fantasy Pro? Here we are. PN. Let's get this up. There's one. And then, so yeah, trying to get this out and get my house prepared for guests yet again. That would be very good. Not sure what this little clipping is on the corner of the Fantasy Pros, but it shouldn't bother us too much as we go forward. How is everyone? I see we have 2 viewers in the chat. I imagine 2 playoff teams, or just 2 loyal viewers that are here even though they're not in the playoffs. Or, oh no, can they not comment because they are spam bots and I set it to subscribers only in chat? Hey, there's Stan. Thanks for helping me stall here when I clearly jumped on before I was prepared. I feel like I'm allowed this for 1 week. Just 1 week. Plus, this was going to be a shorter episode anyway. Good. Grant is good as all age. That is really the crumb of the cookie. The crumb of the cookie to get Grant in my chat, dropping a Grantism. All right, let's look at this fantasy cast. We're going to start in the Smut Hut Conference this week with no playoff games on the line. We will go with the most interesting, closest matchup, which will be me against Mark for the game of the week. Schindler's Fist versus Poor Swan, kicked in the cook and balls. I like that one, so I don't mind saying it. Parker, of course, at 3-10, bottom of the league. And then Swan, 9-4, second place. He's going into the playoffs. But oh my, worried about Lamar Jackson, who is doubtful, is the official. Don't think he's going to play this week. Hopefully he's back for the playoffs. Starting over with Parker. We're rolling with Deshaun Watson again after he scored how many fantasy points in his first week back from a slap on the wrist suspension for sexually assaulting 24 different women? 5.34. That's good to see. J.K. Dobbins in there. Parker been waiting for him the entire season to be someone that he can start. Isaiah Pacheco actually coming on, and that's just, I love when a hype train actually happens. You got a 6th-round pick with the high combine upside actually turn into a startable player. It's really fun to see. I wish he was on my team instead of Parker's, but that's great. Parker, of course, loaded up with all of these keepers. Oh, he added Zeus. I may have missed that one, but that's a good keeper selection if Jacobs were to leave and Zeus were to be the main guy. Over on Swan's side, even with Jared Goff in at quarterback, I mean, this is still an overwhelming matchup for Parker to hope to have a chance. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb alone are 2 studs, which Parker doesn't have. Going with Swan here. Not going to spend too much time on it. Let's move over to Pokeballs and Pussycats. West 5-8 versus Space Jam 2, Panis and Jason. And meanwhile, Stan and Grant are joking about the Grant-isms that come through even in text. But this was the game that was supposed to be a huge, great matchup for a potential playoff spot. And Wes, unfortunately, not playing for that anymore. At 5-8, he's playing for hopefully a first-round bye in the losers bracket. I want to go and taking a look. You can't see it, but I want to... Oh, maybe you can, yeah. I want to look at the standings and see who's going to get those first-round byes. It's got to be Wes, right? I don't think Marty's there. Yeah, so it'll be Wes, unless everything. I don't know what their head-to-head matchup is, and then it'll definitely be Stan on the other side, getting the first round bye, fighting for first overall draft priority. All right, so back to this week's game. Hennis coming off 190 points. It's going to be hard not to pick him, but let's look at what could give Wes a chance. Mahomes, he wins the quarterback matchup, and then Najee Harris there having better weeks recently, coming on, finally starting to be something that could justify a first-round pick. Fortunately, he just wasn't for too much of the season. Rachaad White and George Pickens, 2 good young guys. Kenny just doesn't have the rapport with Pickens for whatever reason. Chris Godwin, I think, has cemented himself as a wide receiver 1, probably at the back end of the top 10 option. Barkley, Grant asks a good question. Is he playing today? For sure. I'm going to read what that most recent update is when we get over to Brad's side. Hawkinson, go check out the 2 Tight Ends podcast. Had a nice long discussion this past week about tight ends and tight end rankings. I recommend you listen to their show every week. It's always delightful. I don't know who Seth Bell is, and I'm not going to pretend that I remember him from high school, but he was a good guest and put out another excellent program. Yeah, so that's really it. Wes still not starting DJ Moore. Let's go over and see Banis and Jason. Got Brady still in the quarterback spot, who has been, like I said all season, just consistent all year. And with Lamar Jackson hurt, if Brady needs to have a few like 25 to 28 point games, and he can actually get over and have my big hot take actually come through. Saquon Barkley. Let's see what Saquon is doing. I forget what this injury even was. It was neck. I don't remember, did he hurt in last game? He's listed as questionable. It's considered a true game time call, and that's a 1 o'clock game. So let's see who is Bandit's going to swap in there if they decide to rest Barkley. It'll have to be Juju, I guess, with Joe Mixon back and Samaje to the bench. I'll have to put Juju in running back, or Mixon in running back, and Juju as the flex. Devontae Adams, 10.1 on Thursday, not too bad. Also, I appreciate you drawing my attention to that, Grant, because if I've been going back and forth between the Ravens D or the Eagles D. If Barkley is out for the Giants, though, it's got to be the Eagles D. It's not even close. Derrick Henry, a rare down week last week. Adams scoring below his projection. It puts it in the range where West could take this. It doesn't none of these games, again, particularly matter for the playoffs. Fantasy Pros likes Banis a good bit better, but not that much, and that's why last week was just so disappointing because this could have been a Cinderella story. It's not though, and I am going to take the favorite this week. I take Banis over Wes. Of course, he came in. He came in when we were a senior, right? I was asking Max. I just don't think that we hung out a whole lot. Um, I just said he was charming. He was charming on the Two Tight Ends podcast, but it's been 15 years. So, well, I guess 12 years since we were seniors. Gosh, we're old. All right, where's our last? Here we go. Grant against Marty, our final Smut Hut game. Grant projected at 157. He got 23 from Josh Jacobs and 9 from the Raiders D. Which is probably in line with their projection, what they were supposed to get, which just shows how powerful Grant's team is, projected at 157. Everybody appears to be healthy. The interesting thing for Grant this week is seeing how Njoku works with the Predator. And if Watson, the sexual predator, can get on his feet a little more and get some of the rust off. If he has a good rapport with Njoku, it'll be entirely worth the 9th round pick that Grant played. I don't expect that to be a deciding factor in this game, though. Marty is just sending out an average team. Amari Cooper does have some sort of an injury question, but I think he is expected to play. Scary Terry on bye. I can't stand these week 14 buys. I don't know why they do that, unless it's just to mess with the fantasy community. James Cook, I think, has an argument to be in the starting lineup over Singletary. I know Singletary's still the number one, but Cook has been getting more and more work and is just the higher upside guy. And I'm really happy with the DK Metcalf trade, but Marty did get a really good piece there. He didn't really negotiate for, but I think everybody I had that I could have added into that trade was at least somewhat valuable. All right, that's going to be it for the Smut Hut. Let's move on over to the MAGA gang. We'll start here with Stan against Minnie. Stan's grabber by the Pelosi, just short of 500 at 6-7 and eliminated from the playoffs, versus Minnie's Kanye's Kitty Killers 2024 at 4-9. Both teams projected around 100 points. Stan got 3.1 from Tyler Higbee, which is about all you can expect from tight ends these days, and 13 points from the kicker position for Minnie. Very nice. Sets him up in a better spot than he probably would have been. I'm going to start this looking at the Fantasy Pros, seeing before those games who they liked. They had Stan at 77 and Minnie at 75, so they already had this one to be close. And a couple of your toss-up positions. Tight end is almost in there for most teams who don't have Kelsey or Andrews. Tight end is just like kicker or defense, right? Where it's really a roll of the dice. So that's a good start for Minnie. Stan, Tua in there, no more questioning about who we're starting with Burrow gone. I feel like I already talked about that last week. Mike Boone in at running back. Did he have a big 3.6? Oh man, that is desperation with Gibson on the bye, Drake London on a bye, Stan having to dig deep in his pockets, Cortland Sutton out, Elijah Mitchell of course still on IR. Stan is really beaten up. Over on the other side, Jamal Williams, as I was saying, I was hoping for in last week's video, has seemed to give back the starting role to Swift. He's still a very startable running back too because of the touchdown upside, but he's just not an RB1 like Minnie has suggested he might be as a keeper. Hubbard, fine. Ayuk, yeah, nothing to get too excited about here. Tyler Lockett, it's consistent wide receiver 2, as he has always been at age 30 now. Not going to say anything else about that. Aaron Jones on bye. Couple of empty spots on Minnie's roster, which is the most Minnie thing in the world. Instead of loading up on potential stashes, just flexing, having empty spots. I'm taking Stan here. That's it. I'm just taking Stan because that annoys me, having the 2 bench spots open. All right, next, Super Mega. It's not a joke. Max's team at a lowly 4-9 comes in against the McConnellsville Mutineers. Bill at 7-6, who will be in the playoffs. no matter what happens in this game, even though he only got 4.5 points from Derek Carr. I like that. That looks very good. I'm not I'm not looking past Bill at all in the first round of the playoffs just because it would be so very eng for me to slip up there. I want to make sure we put as much separation as possible. Max got 0 points from Foster Moreau. Is Waller back on Grant? Grant has Njoku in, or do they just not throw to the tight end once? No, Waller's still on IR. That stinks. Moreau was a true goose egg. Garrett Wilson, those continue to come on. Zonovan Knight, as long as Michael Carter's injured, will have volume there. Max's team's not terrible. Fantasy Pros here has Max down at a 71 and Mini at a 75. They like him a little more. Or, oh wait, not Mini, Bill. What am I doing? Bill at a 76. They're right next to each other. I don't know, man. Those 5 points from Derek Carr makes this really tough for Bill. I think Max has more upside at this point. You see Latavius Murray, who's your volume-based startable RB2. Mike Evans, who's been disappointing. I think I just like the Garrett Wilson. I know they're going against Buffalo, who's a good defense, but that's going to be a good game script for Wilson. He's going to probably get a lot of targets. And the defenses, Bill has their Patriots, and Arizona is their best matchup for the rest of the way. So I like the Patriots D better. Who's Travis Homer? I assume he's a running back for Seattle. That's right, because Kenneth Walker's out. Kind of glossed over that with Swan's game, so he should be able to get some volume. I like Max here. I just think the difference between Herbert and Carr is going to be too high this week. Herbert going against Miami, that could be a high-scoring game. I know both ESPN and Fantasy Pros like Bill, but I like Max for this week. Does not mean I'm looking past Bill. Just want to make that very clear. I am nervous. All right, and finally, game of the week has to be, I really expected. I do put my finger on the scale when I make playoffs, or when I make the schedule. I thought Mark and I were going to be the top 2 teams in the conference, and so we always do. You know, it's 5 games round robin, 4 games out of conference, then 5 games round robin in conference. I did put Mark and I at the end of the season, even though I knew I was going to pick Jonathan Taylor and he was going to be on a bye, because I thought it would be a bye week deciding game. But Mark has just kept his record too high, 3 games back. I am thoroughly out of it, but this should still be a fun matchup. Mark and I have the same number of points scored on the season right now, so this is also a little bragging rights thing with whoever's going to be able to lead possibly the conference in scoring. Stan actually leads the conference in scoring, but we expect both of us to pass him this week. It's only about a 15-point lead. Let's dive in, though. Joe Burrow starting for Mark. Good pickup for him. Swift seems to be back in that. I'd call him in the low RB1 conversation, and by getting more of the work, makes Mark's decision on who to start running back easier every week. Dameon Pierce, another good pickup there. Kamara on the bye makes it so that he doesn't have to choose between Pierce and Kamara or Zeke and Kamara. I think it's definitely Kamara over Zeke, but excuse me, Kamara over Pierce is a little tougher to choose. Jamar Chase back last week. How did he fare in his first game back? 16.7, right back into it. Oh, that's good. That's good for Mark. Jalen Waddle, on the other hand, has hit a bit of a cold streak with 13 and last 3 games, 10, 13, and 2. I don't expect him to only get 2, but I think Waddle has maybe started to fall out of that, for sure, wide receiver 1 talk. He might be more of what we call wide receiver 1.5, like the guys I'm starting. The Muth, I still feel good about starting the Muth. And then Chiefs against Denver is a great matchup there. On the other side, I have the Ravens in there right now against Kenny. Everyone's saying that oh, Kenny's gone 3 games without throwing a pick, making him 4 touchdowns and 8 picks on the season. That's great. And I'm just thinking, okay, he's due. But if Barkley is out, definitely we'll start the Eagles against the Giants. Josh Allen has not been Josh Allen for a few weeks now, and I've made this comment for a few weeks, and I'm not worried. I'm just sad. It seems like a little of his moxie mojo got thrown off. He's still a top 3 quarterback consistently, but it's not like at the beginning of the season where I thought he was going to have a Kelsey-ish advantage over other quarterbacks. Chubb against Cincinnati should be able to do well there. Eckler against Miami. That's why we paid for him. He's solid. Allen and Metcalf. There's Metcalf's little injury here. I don't think he's expected to miss the game. He's listed as questionable. He's expected to play. Yeah. I think Metcalf and Allen have both, everyone's kind of recognizing now that they are low-end wide receiver ones, not mid-range or mid-late wide receiver twos like we were being suggested. They're both just seeing so much volume, and Kelsey has had to have few down weeks along with Josh Allen. Not worried at all about Kelsey. That actually makes me feel better about my team going into the playoffs, that we've still been putting up 130, 140 without those 2 studs carrying us. And then I have to start Dulcich in the flex this week with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Christian Watson all on bye. There were some people I could have picked up to throw into the flex for this 1 week, but I don't like them that much better than Dulcich. I think Dulcich is a top 5 or 6 tight end now. He's basically the wide receiver 1 on the Broncos with Cortland Sutton out, and I know the Broncos stink, but if he's going to get 8 targets one way or another, it's a decent flex option. Mark is stronger this week in terms of who has injuries and buys because I have so many guys on bye, but we're both pretty close to full strength. Fantasy Pros likes me at a 92 over Mark's 89, but both think it should be close. We neither have had anybody play. This really could go either way, which Mark will be happy to hear me say whenever he gets around to watching this, because he pointed out that I was always saying, well, his team kind of isn't looking good, but I think he's going to win because the other guy's going to score low. Now, this week, I expect Mark to put up a lot of points. I expect this to be a high-scoring game. I feel good. I'm gonna take us to win a close game with both teams scoring over 130. I think that's pretty conservative to say. I think it's reasonable. That's it for predictions this week. Let's move back over to chat. Just have Grant and Stan in this week talking about Seth, who, again, very good job appearing on the podcast. Would like him to hang out with us more and see what our league is really about. Nobody has any other. There's really not much this week. It is really the calm before the storm of playoffs next week. And I did not prepare one of my little jokes for this week again. I keep forgetting, and I'm also kind of running out of things to say, but just take the Thursday players out of your flex. Please. Please do it. And good luck to everybody. We will see you next week for the first round of the playoffs.